is the lover?
Allah.
Who is Ar-Rahman?
Allah.
Who is Al-Mannan?
La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Muhammad is the messenger to Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Brother Mikhail. I just wanted to share a quick message with you guys. I know a lot of brothers and sisters maybe as well, they want to gain an Islamic education or be able to teach Islamic studies or, maybe even become a chaplain or an imam, but they might not have access to the same education as everybody else. Not everybody is able to pack up a bag and be supported by their family to go to, Medina University or Al-Azhar or any of those other major universities, Prophet's Masjid, because we have responsibilities that hold us back from that here in this world or in the dunya that we're currently in. And a lot of those responsibilities can't just be left for 3, 4, 5 years because, you'll lose everything you have. But at the same time, I don't want people to make them feel like they should just forget about having an Islamic education, because having an education is part of our deen. It's part of our responsibilities to learn more about our deen and about our religion. With that being said, I want to remind you all, we live in an age where education is only limited to your brain. Yeah, it would be great to be able to go to Medina University or any of those other great universities, or even maybe a college here in the United States. However, most of those schools are also charging $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 to get an Islamic education, which truthfully, I don't think that's 100% okay, but that's not what this is about today. This is about showing you that there's more than one way to get that education. So with that being said, I want to show you something that I've come across and I've compiled, and we can kind of grow on this together. And if anybody has questions or they want to start a study group or something virtually, I think that would be a great plan. I think it'd be really good if we could start an all brothers and an all sisters study groups based off of different educational methods, especially since we, like I said, we can't all just get up and leave and go to a university for 4 years and learn Islamic studies or Hadith studies. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you a collection of books that I think are good for reverts as well as Muslims who may not have been practicing or families don't practice, and they want to get a foundational education in Islamic studies and go from there. So the first book I want to show you that I think every single Muslim should read, it's called The Etiquette of Life in Islam by Muhammad Yusuf Islahi. Very good book. This will teach you the adab, the etiquette of Islam that you need to have as a Muslim. And I mean, this goes from the basics to how to properly use a bathroom, to traveling, mourning and grief, fear and panic, rejoicing, respect at the mosque, saying prayers, so on and so on, fasting, zakat, married life, friendship, guest, sitting, preaching, communicating Islam, meeting each other, business, so on and so on. Anything you can think of that has to deal with etiquette of our deen, you'll find in this book. Very good book. Then the second thing I wanted to bring up before I get into the real good stuff, if you want to learn Arabic, that is the only subject that I recommend getting a teacher or a tutor. And it doesn't mean you have to go and spend, $1,000, $2,000 to learn Arabic. Like when I first came to Texas, I thought, the masjid that lived down the street, or that was down the street from where I lived, happened to be Numan Ali Khan. And I was like, maybe I can learn Arabic. And then I realized that, his Arabic course costs $1,000. Well, who can afford $1,000 for an Arabic course? Not many people. There are some, but not many. So with that being said, I would still recommend, though, doing Arabic with somebody one-on-one, whether it's your imam or somebody else in the masjid, or even what I found online. There are tutors online, if you Google it, where you can literally pay $5 an hour for instruction. And you set up times throughout the week with them and ahead of time. So like say you want to do 3 days a week for an hour apiece, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, something like that, at 12 p.m. You set that up with them ahead of time, and it costs you $5 per an hour. I don't know about you, but me, $5 for an hour worth of education sounds like a steal. And I can't really put a price tag on knowledge. Every piece of knowledge that you earn is rewarded to you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that little $5 bill that you gave away for that piece of knowledge is probably worth an unlimited amount of money to you when you're before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you do go that route and do like a tutor or somebody local, you can find one of these on Amazon as well, called The Quran Made Easy. Very, very, very good book. And basically it goes from beginning, like elementary level, with learning your Arabic alphabet, to memorization of the alphabet, to putting together words, and so on and so on. It's a very good $10 book. I would recommend. And then lastly, I have a 7-book collection. And I think this collection probably could have sold for triple. But alhamdulillah, the seminary and the author who made these books, I don't think he's doing it for the intention of the profit. I think he's doing it for the intention of the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there is a seminary, I believe it's in Texas, if I'm not, or it's maybe in California, to be honest with you. I'm not 100% sure. But it's called the Institute of Knowledge. And they developed so far 7 books, but it was like 5 about a year ago. So I think they're growing it. But it's the Institute of Knowledge, and it's their curriculum series book. This first one is The Sciences of the Quran. And this is all by the same author, Farhan Zubari. It's about a 70-page book, not that thick, and it's just a concise text introducing to foundational topics covered in the field of Quranic sciences, including revelation, compilation, and preservation of the Quran. Very good book. I would definitely recommend this book. The second one that they have in their series is the Introduction to Hadith Studies, same author. And in this book, it goes through the concise text introducing the foundational topics covered in the field of Hadith studies, including preservation, compilation, and classification of Hadiths. So if you know if it's a strong Hadith, a weak Hadith, etc., etc. This book is a bit thicker, and I would say probably, let me take a look here. And I would say it's about twice the size, about 120 pages. Very good book on an introduction to Hadith studies. The third one, it's a little bit, as these go on, they get a little bit bigger. I think that's the purpose here, but this is for the introduction of Usul al-Fiqh, just like the study of Islamic law and Sharia law, on the rules of interpretation as well. Very good book, probably about 130, 140 pages. I would recommend. And fourth one of their series is called In the Company of the Quran, same author, and this is an explanation of Surah Al-Kahf. And I just want to let you guys know these are all English. See, they have Arabic, but they have English interpretation, so anybody who understands English or Arabic can pick this up. Very good book, especially for the brothers. Reading Surah Al-Kahf on Fridays is definitely looked upon as a good deed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you read, there's a difference of opinion. You either got to read the first 10 or the last 10 verses. Because of that difference of hadith, I don't like to take any chances, so I try to get to the masjid in time to read the whole thing. But if I can't, I do the first 20 and the last 20, just to make it so I put my full dual diligence into it. And don't miss any of that reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, if you read Surah Al-Kahf on Fridays, it shines a light from you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until the next Jummah prayer. Another good book that they have in the company of Quran is an explanation of Surah Al-Taha. So Surah Taha, it's an explanation, same exact author, and this is their 5th book in their series. The 6th one is in the company of the Quran, and it's an explanation of Surah Maryam. Very good. And the other reason I think these are good too is because when you're learning Arabic, your goal is to learn Arabic so you can read the Quran and eventually, inshallah, recite the Quran. So when reciting the Quran, I like these books as well because it lets you know the meaning behind what you're going to recite. And it's one thing to be able to just recite a bunch of words that you don't understand, but it's more of an emotional impact on you and more of a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you recite and you have clear understanding. So very good books for them. The last book is called In the Company of the Scholars, and this is a commentary on 40 Hadith. Very good. Now this is probably their biggest book. Say it's like 2 inches, 315 pages. Very, very, very good book as well. The reason for me making this video was to show you that you don't need to go to Medina to get an Islamic education. You don't need to go to Medina University or Al-Azhar or any of those universities to spread the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you need to go to those places or go to a university well known to become well known in a community, so to speak, and get permission to preach the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Depending on the masjid that you go to, they might. But if you can effectively learn what you need to learn and prove to your community that you have this knowledge and that you can be depended upon with this knowledge, then there are places you can still go and serve God or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the way that you want to. The other reason for this is because this video is to teach you that you just need to think outside the box. So if you can't get into certain area because you don't have that college education to be an imam, right, and the council in your local area, like the North American Islamic Association or whatever you want to call it, they don't want to give you that ability to preach because you don't have certain credentials or whatnot. Just remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't set down in the Quran and say, my followers must have a piece of paper degree from these universities to preach the word. He made it obligatory upon all Muslims, all, not just imams, not just scholars, not just chaplains, and not just ustaz. All Muslims are responsible to spread and teach the word of Islam. That right there is enough certification, license from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go about and teach the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran. Don't limit yourself because the secular world limits their people on what they need to do certain things. You need to put yourself in a bubble, so to speak, and block out the secular world. And if you have a desire to do something, you come up with a plan of how you're going to do it your own way. If you have any other questions or you have any other type of suggestions on books for Muslims to read when they're either new to Islam or just starting their studies, feel free to drop a comment below, and I'll take a look at that and respond. If you have any other questions as well, feel free to ask. Hope you have a blessed day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.